my church is so boring. All the pastor does is talk. That's
What
not a
is he
question.
supposed to do? Go dancing around the stage like a
My pastor
jungle
doesn't
animal?
dance enough.
We live.
I mean, I don't know. I feel like our pastor might dance enough.
I would. I
Yeah.
promise you, I would in a second.
That's true.
I think it's a couple of things. Like a couple of things could be there. One, people could be so wrapped up in an entertainment mentality. Like I'm here for you to entertain me, right? That's those itching ears that people want, right? On the other end, pastors can feel so. They show no enthusiasm, no love of what they do. Now, don't get me wrong. Some people are really extroverted and animated, and sort of people, more like that. Bueller, and that's okay too.
Yeah.
That's okay too. But you have to come through the door understanding I am not here to be entertained. I am here to experience God that much more.
Yeah. And I think even going back to like when you say there's just a time where we're wanting entertainment culture. I feel like when I show up on a Sunday, I'm like, I'm going to be fed, to be taught, to worship together corporately, right? But the adventure of my relationship with Jesus doesn't come from me sitting in a chair on Sunday. And I'm not saying that doesn't have value, sitting in the chair on the Sunday, but you rewind back to Acts of the people sitting around tables, breaking bread together, sharing everything they had in common, giving testimonies of the things that God is doing. To me, that's the adventure part. Like you want something engaging. If you're expecting to go in and have Jesus at the center where there is dancing, or where there is food or something, open your home to people, right?
Yeah.
But I think this comes down again to this expectation that pastors need to be delivering everything to their congregation, but not even to their congregation, to each individual, right? You need to give me more of your time. You need to give me more entertainment. You need to make sure when I come in here, you're speaking on the topics that I'm dealing with right now. Otherwise, it's irrelevant, and I don't even know why I showed up today.
Consumerist.
Right.
Consumerist.
That's crazy because it's
culture.
like if you go to like school, you don't look at your teacher and think, oh, like I'm going to school because I want my teacher to dance for me while teaching a math equation.
Yes.
Like you're going there to be taught something,
Boom.
to learn something. And it's like the same way. Like you go to church to be taught something, to like, learn about God and Jesus and all that. Like you don't go to school with the expectation of, oh, my teacher's gonna dance for 40 minutes.
Yeah.
while
I know, right?
teaching math or language arts or whatever.
Yeah.
And when you go expecting growth, growth comes from doing things together. I get to know you more by spending time with you, but there is also time for teaching and learning, right? Growth comes from learning. And I think to position ourselves once a week to be taught something and informed something, like, what do we expect? Like, we can't set apart an hour to 2 hours to 3 hours, depending on how white or not you are, right?
Yeah, I know, right? True. Bars.
But to like receive and like be taught, right?
That's hilarious. That is so funny. I grew up like that too.
It's like white church is like, I'm trying to make it in time for lunch. Black church is like, is it breakfast yet
Believe
on Monday?
It or not, man, I am 40 years old and I'm still sitting in, like right now, we're just on the intermission from a church service that started when I was 8.
You just
Bro,
left
we
early.
still in there, right? I'm like, man, I'll be back out. They're still going, bro.
That's where fasting came from.
I know, right?
I just missed 7 meals in here.
I know, right? I promise you. Lord have mercy.
Says Dustin, who loves to eat.
I know that's the only reason I couldn't go to black church, bro. I get hungry way too quick. I'm like, can we just get a break for? Can we take communion again, maybe? Like,
It is. It's cultural
Dustin comes
differences.
with a
And me, I
backpack,
dig it. You
a
know?
lunchbox.
I know, right? I just eat some rich crackers on the front row.
I don't stand out in black church because I'm white. I stand out because I brought a picnic basket.
Yeah, I know.
Like, this dude showed up.
Oh, I miss my churches.
Which, speaking
growing
of
up.
this story of
I love
the 5 loaves and the 2 fish, right?
Yeah.
This kid was the only smart. Like, he was like, Jesus is long-winded.
Yeah.
Like, I'm gonna get hungry. He was the only prepared person. He sat through a Jesus sermon before.
Boom.
Let me Uber Eats real quick.
And so, bro, that's hilarious. What I love about black church, it goes all the way to black culture. My goodness, y'all, when we hang out. We stay at each other's house. And now I'm not putting a blanket on for everybody. I'm just talking about my experiences, right? But whenever we got together, like we got together, right? And we just hung out constantly, and it was awesome. It was just a celebration with all of the junk that we were experiencing throughout the week. But whenever we got together, it was a party. And so a lot of the times we see Black churches a whole lot more expressive. We even make jokes about it. We see the cultural differences. We see the shouting, we see the dancing, we see this, but there is historical reasons for that. We're gathering, and we know Jesus too. Yo, we are partying, and we want to sit in this community, in this setting, in this hope, in this joy. I want to hear about as much hope as I possibly can, because I'm about to go out into the world where I have very little hope. I'm about to come in here and experience so much joy, because I'm about to go out into a situation where there is very little joy. And the Black church is built on that foundation of celebrating God despite all of the snares, all of the calamity that's outside of the world. And I love how Black church, for the most part, still continues in that. I dig it. I dig it. And I tell you the truth, it's something that I really, really miss. I do.
Yeah. And I think this speaks a bit to, not to get all, onto racial issues now, but why not, right?
Yeah.
I think that sometimes what we would define as racism, as white people not liking Black people, I think there is a genuine discomfort with some white people with Black people, but I think it has nothing to do with the color of somebody's skin.
And it's same, vice versa too.
I think it has more to do with the beautiful, expressive nature that you see come out in a Black church, right? The loudness, the yelling, the we're excited. I don't even know you, but we got our arms around each other. We're singing what's up, bro? It's such an engaging and beautiful thing within Black culture of even a willingness to engage with strangers. There's been times when we lived in LA, I remember times we'd go into grocery stores and you see there'd be a Black guy that walks in and it's like, oh, what's up, man? Oh, you looking at this? Just interacting with people as he walks in. I see white people cringing, not because they're oh, he's Black, but because they're he's talking to me, right? Which I think is a problem within white culture, within white church, because now that same thing that as white culture that we carry sometimes, which is I don't want to interact with anybody except for the people I'm comfortable with, right? We bring that into church, and we bring that into our heavenly relationship with Jesus. We bring it into worship. How do white people worship? And then maybe this, right? It's just, these are the two motions, bro. Let's break down.
Not put the blanket over everybody, but if we had to do it. I get what you're saying.
But I'm when you say Black church, I think that we're thinking of that culture of Black church.
So I went to it was my buddy. He's in the band, and he was doing this. He broke out in Sweet Caroline, that was called Sweet Caroline, Neil Diamond, and I didn't know this, right?
In worship?
No, it wasn't worship.
Can we leave church? Okay, we left church.
No. He was playing at a bar, and it was packed full. I was the only brother in there, and they played Sweet Caroline. And I didn't know that Sweet Caroline is the equivalent of Juvenile's Back That Thing Up for Black folks, right? I just did not know that. I mean, that Sweet Caroline came, and everybody's like, bah, bah, bah. And I'm like, what is this? What is this or whatever? But what it was is it's that I didn't know that Neil Diamond in the setting I was in was such a joy in your culture that you express it like that.
That dude was supposed to be a worship leader.
Bro, I know, right? And I didn't know that was within that culture. So I say all that to say this. A lot of times people are freaked out because they are experiencing somebody else's culture and they don't know how to navigate through that culture. So they're freaked out about it. And it's the same thing with Black folks, with white folks. It's the same thing with Native Americans, with Hispanics. It's the same, so on and so forth. It's just a lot of times people just freak out with other people's cultures. But the time that you just adopt it and you can find that joy too, then your culture just expands. And you're no longer somebody just limited to your experiences or your culture within your race, but you're a person. And I'm like, oh my goodness, I've also adopted, some folks, some German culture and some white culture, some Native American culture. And that's exactly who Jesus is.
No, it's really
He's
cool.
a father of all cultures. He understands all cultures, and he wants his children to all be together.
That's
and
really
we
cool.
can just bring heaven on earth by experiencing other people's cultures, leaning into it a little bit more.
I think one of the most beautiful demonstrations of this that I've ever seen in the church was when we were in Virginia Beach. There was a church, and it was a white pastor and a Black pastor, right? And but you felt the meshing of culture because, and then they would always say, there's so many times where churches say that they're that because they have a white pastor and a Black pastor, and it's either a black church that is black culture with a white guy that they let in, or a white pastor with a white church and with the black guy that they let in. But there is very rarely the like, let's literally like bro, and this is weird for me, but like the interlocking of like this, right? To experience that
beautiful
in a church. I think that is when God's heart is like, oh, this is the completion of who I am. We're all made in his image, right?
Yeah.
Meaning to do it my way, to do it your way is not the completion of God's image, bro.
Yeah.
It's half of it, or not half. I mean, there's tons of races and cultures, right? It is a
Boom.
fraction. When I do things my way, it is a fraction of the image of God.
You said it. That's why it's so important when we all get together.
Yeah.
When we all get together,
Yeah.
we experience more of God
Yeah.
because we're more of that multicultural, faceted family.
Yeah.
And that's how it's going to be in heaven. And
Yeah.
we're supposed
Amen.
to bring his kingdom here on earth. So,
I absolutely agree. And I think that it's so beautiful. I mean, I think that like, because we are made in the image of God and we want to experience that completeness, I think what that says, like, to me, the challenge is I want to learn from every single person.
Yeah.
And that is hard for a person who's stuck in their ways, right? For a person who is comfortable with certain things. And, you know, and like you said, you bring in like German and all these different things. Like, sometimes it is weird to do things outside of us, but like as we've traveled, I was a missionary for a long time, and then me and Carrie and Laser actually all part of the same missions organization. As we like experience different cultures, even at the campus that we were from, dude. I don't know if any of my friends were like me, right? We have friends from New Zealand and from Germany and from Papua New Guinea and like, dude, all over the place, right? It's amazing because you start to experience, oh, this is what you do in your culture. Oh, this is what you do in this. I just read a thing today that, oh, now I'm going to misquote. I just read this morning. There's a culture that refers to the Holy Spirit. The word for it is the equivalent of wild goose, right? Because, and you think about chasing the Holy Spirit sometimes. It's like this, you don't ever know where the Holy Spirit's going, right? And what a cool thing, though, to see that there is a culture that like, they're like, we're going to chase the Holy Spirit. We don't always know where it is because we say wild goose chase, right? But like literally, it doesn't matter if we don't know the direction. It doesn't matter how crazy this feels. If the Holy Spirit's leading, we're chasing that thing.
Yeah. Imagine Peter, whenever Peter was minding his own business and Jesus gave him a vision, and it was all of these birds or whatever, you know, that's on this sheet, and God said, kill and eat. And then Peter was like, no. What you made unclean, you know what I'm saying? You know, I am not going to, I'm not going to eat. I'm not going to eat anything unclean anyway. And then in which God said, like, don't call anything unclean that I've made clean. Yeah. God did something huge there. What he did was told Peter that he permitted for him to eat all of these unclean foods that all of the Gentiles were eating. What is when people link up, especially a bunch of people, almost 9 times out of 10, there's food, right? Yeah. Food is a phenomenal unifier. And what I love about food, there's so much diversity about that. What Jesus did, he broke that barrier. He goes, experience that culture. And that was Paul's bridge to experience other people's cultures. And he was like, hey, yo, let me get a ham sandwich. Yeah. Want a ham sandwich? With me? And with these meals, he told them about God. Yeah. And switched up the Gentiles, just switched them up. Now they're having a relationship with him, and revival is breaking out with all of these people that are non-Jewish. Yeah, and crazy. Peter and others got to experience other people's culture, still not going outside of the person that God called him to be, and not going outside of the will of God, but experience that culture. Paul said, I've become all things to all people so that I may win some. Wow. If that is not experiencing other people's cultures, I don't know what is. Yeah. I don't know what is. And folks love them some Paul. They love them some Peter. They experience those cultures, man.
That's so true.
So anyway.